today we are joined with Sarah Main. So we are so happy to have you and just a pleasure to speak with you today.
And
Thank you.
Sarah, your journey. I want to tell our viewers a little bit about your journey just by reading your little bio because I love that you've worked with Sanskrit and pull a lot of wisdom from that. So, for those of you who don't know Sarah, she is a Sanskrit scholar with a particular interest in the wisdom of Sanskrit as a practical means to life mastery. So, previously a teacher and school executive, today she is a transformational and executive coach. You can follow her work at consciousconfidence.com. And in today's conversation, we want to talk with Sarah about cultivating that conscious confidence. Because Sarah, we know that this is so, so important. And I think it's a topic that a lot of people want to explore, but there's so many people talking about confidence. We're drawn to your work because of this inner spiritual component to it that just makes sense. So we're just going to hand this over to you. What would you say is the difference between conscious confidence and confidence, as most people know it to be?
Great question. Thank you. Conscious confidence is an abiding confidence within yourself. It's rooted within yourself. It's not an add-on. And it's not dependent on situation, the circumstances to be a particular way. It doesn't mean you're not going to feel nervous if you're doing something new. It doesn't mean that you're not going to feel a normal range of human emotions, but fundamentally there is a confidence about yourself and the resilience that you have within yourself that you can turn and meet whatever comes your way in life. So, and it is confidence that is derived from the present moment, hence it's conscious. It's not, most people think of confidence as either, well, that's just a confident person, they just seem to be lucky, the confidence fairies tapped them on the head when they were born and they're like that, or everyone has some explanation about why they're not confident and that other person is. This is an abiding confidence regardless of anyone else or anything else. And there is a distinct difference there. And also a lot of people derive their confidence from just practice and repetition of something, familiarity. And this goes beyond that. There's nothing wrong with that. We all get good at some sort of skill. But this is just an abiding confidence within yourself of who you really are.
I really like that you drive that point home that it's something that already exists within you because I feel like so many people put so much stress on themselves to strive to become something they think they are not.
As it's external to themselves.
Right. And it's usually motivated by societal pressure or the opinions of others or wanting to be acknowledged or it receives some kind of recognition of some sort. Whereas this conscious confidence is something so much more pure and can really take that pressure off of your shoulders of what we put on ourselves.
And I see it as almost, and you can talk to this a little bit more, Sarah, but I see this as almost an emergence of something that's, again, already within us, but is just wanting to emerge and not be taken in.
Absolutely. And the thing is, it's already within us, and that's why it's so important to go back to the wisdom traditions. And Sanskrit is such a beautiful expression of that and gives expression to it so beautifully and so purely. All the wisdom traditions, their basis, their acknowledgement is that in our essence, all of us, we are pure, perfect, and complete. We are manifestly limitless, pure consciousness. That is our essential nature. All the wisdom traditions are saying that. And then they seek to teach us to uncover and remove that which has got in the way, like clouds in front of the sun. make it seem like the sun's gone away, but the sun hasn't gone away. It's the same with our pure nature. It's just that most of us are not educated like that. So we grow up literally in ignorance of who we really are. And therefore our attention goes outward, and especially today with social media and all the influences, it's even more so. It's just become accelerated. We look outward for some indication of who we are, and then we seek for approval from one person, and all these insecurities develop. And it's just more layers and layers and layers over who we really are from the get-go. And it's about getting back to that. So hence, yes, it's a good description to say it is an emergence, definitely.
What inspired you to pull this specific topic of conscious confidence from these teachings of Sanskrit and other wisdom traditions? Because obviously they withhold so much wisdom. Like, what was it within you that said, you know what, I want to talk about conscious confidence from this?
I took up learning the harp, several years ago. I'd always wanted to do it from the age of 10, to learn the harp. I just fell in love with it, but I didn't get round to it. So eventually found a teacher and started learning the harp. And I went to a harp weekend workshop, and I hadn't been learning for very long, and there were much more experienced professional harpists there. But my teacher said, look, come along, you'll get something out of it. And in one of the sessions on the weekend workshop, it was run by a psychologist addressing the issue of stage fright and fear around stage fright and performance anxiety. And this workshop, above all the other workshops on the weekend, was a sellout, packed. They had to run it twice for other musicians, flautists and violinists and guitarists who wanted it as well. So anyway, I went to the harpists workshop for stage fright, and I'm sitting there in a room with probably 40 other harpists, and I don't class myself as a harpist. I'm learning the harp, and I was absolutely gobsmacked because people were talking about all these professional musicians, particularly orchestral musicians, who now take medication to overcome this stage fright. And I had no idea that this was happening. I just had no idea. And my jaw was on the ground. That was how everyone was going. And everyone was just, yeah, that's what happens now. It's common.
Wow.
And I honestly, as you can see, I couldn't quite get my head around that. And it's not like I didn't experience stage fright myself. It just wouldn't occur to me to take pills, frankly, because I had other resources. It's how I'd been brought up, to use mindfulness, to use presence, to have a groundedness within myself. Like I say, it doesn't mean you don't feel nervous, but you get through it, you proceed through it, you transcend it. And I was sitting there and I had this sort of revelation. Oh my God, yes. And then that started me on a journey of, there must be a way of utilizing everything I've been taught, the blessings that I've been taught, to help address this. So I started looking into it. And then I got to a point where I thought, when we're confident, I came down to this word confidence. When we're confident, what is happening within us? What are the energies doing when we feel confident? And as soon as I asked myself that question, bingo, go back to the Sanskrit. Just hadn't occurred to me. So I went back and looked up the word confidence in Sanskrit, and I discovered there were basically 12 words for confidence. I mean, Sanskrit has a vast vocabulary, so rich and detailed. And I started looking up every one of those 12 words deeply and going back to the etymology and the derivation, because Sanskrit is brilliant, because it tells you what's happening and what you need to do to develop that meaning. So the meaning in Sanskrit is very experiential rather than conceptual. And as soon as I started looking all these things up, and this took me about 4 months of this detailed research, And then I spread it all out on the dining room table and said to my husband, honey, come and have a look at this. What have we got here? We looked at it, and all of a sudden it started grouping itself. It was just evident. And then the lights went on in my head about this. And I was still focused on the performance anxiety. And then I thought, there's something more here. I could feel it. I could hear it within myself. And then about 10 minutes later, I was in the kitchen, and just conscious confidence presented itself within me. And then I started following that, and it's emerged to what it is now. So that's the story.
What
Wow.
would you say are the feelings like when you're operating in that flow state from a place of conscious confidence? What does that feel like?
Well, the four distinct areas, and I call it the fourfold energy of conscious confidence, because they're four distinct energies. I call them focusing, being able to put your attention on something; uniting, that means that you're not distracted by inner divisions or outer divisions. So focusing, uniting, simplifying, letting go of what's not essential, the non-essential, letting go, simplifying, and energizing, taking dynamic, creative, purposeful action. So focusing, uniting, simplifying, and energizing are all there when we're confident, consciously confident. And that's how I've came up with the Fuse program, the FUSE Fuse program. And that's founded. Then I asked myself, what is that founded on? And I came back to values, core values, and your attitude. And what Sanskrit says about values and attitude is very, very interesting, because then I went back and looked at that. And that makes the entirety of the 6-part Fuse program. Core values, positive attitude, focusing, uniting, simplifying, energizing. That in its totality brings you to conscious confidence.
And I'm so glad that you mentioned values, because that's definitely a very crucial and critical part of our work as coaches, and what we've done with our clients of really tapping into those core values, because those again are your fundamental driving forces to really frame the way that we make decisions. And when we're making decisions based in and rooted in these values, we can come out with, again, more confidence, feeling more empowered, and aligned with our heart center rather than our head. So I'm glad that you mentioned that, and just I love that acronym, and I really love the way that you put that together. And I'm curious, so what are you finding as some of, possibly, we talked about confidence in itself and getting to confidence, but what are some of the blocks that people are experiencing around confidence, and
Particularly being able to allow it to just emerge,
Yeah. Well, the short answer is a lack of self-knowledge. That's the actual answer, the lack of self-knowledge. And that comes back to actually being taught and having a simple connection with who you really are beyond everything. So profound, so simple, right under our nose. The one place we don't look is right under our nose. However, we need to be taught. And that is something that is missing in the education. And then from that it arises things like a sense of victimhood, and then a need for circumstances to be a certain way. So these are some of the key elements, and certainly in my coaching work, these are the ones I'm addressing all the time. And it's interesting you should highlight the area of values in Sanskrit. The two words that I followed up on values was mulyam, which means the root of something, and the Sanskrit etymology says that in flourishing and prospering, you will find the values. And if you take a plant, you see a plant that's flourishing, you don't even think, but of course the roots are healthy. Otherwise you wouldn't get a flourishing plant. It all comes back to the roots. If the roots are unhealthy or poorly formed, then the plant won't flourish. So we need to look, and if someone isn't, or if you don't feel you're flourishing, or if someone isn't flourishing, you need to go back to the roots and not deal with, what's on the surface. Go back to the root, obviously. So Sanskrit talks about the roots, and that is to do with value, the core important things. And then the other part is argha, which means to honor. And value is also what we honor, and that's what we honor in our heart. And the beautiful image is honor, such as the honor that you give what you how can I say this? What you offer to an honored guest when you welcome them into your home. And imagine your heart is your home. What are you welcoming into your home as an honored guest? Is it kindness? Is it magnanimity? Is it generosity? Is it love? Is it service? Is it courage? All these wonderful, mighty powers. And Sanskrit and the wisdom traditions view these values as like mighty powers in the creation, not just concepts, nice words. They are actually, and we understand them to be fundamental drivers, and they are. They're one of the first expressions out from who we really are. And that's all from the Sanskrit. And so it's, yes, with my clients, I have to go back to those important values, because that helps to clear away the blockages to finding that real confidence within yourself.
Mm.
It's interesting because I never really, to be honest, made that correlation consciously until we're having this conversation. And it actually speaks true to my heart, because in my past, I thought I was to follow a career that was, a passion, but was not upholding my core values, because I wasn't aware of my core values at that time, because I had yet to embark on my self-discovery journey. And I was always self-sabotaging. I was always afraid to put myself out there in this career. I felt like I was just not ready. Every time I was put on the spot, I wasn't ready. I can't do this. I'm not cut out for this. Just such lack of inner confidence regarding something that I thought was perfect for me. But then when I did the journey and began starting to increase my self-awareness, became aware of my core values, it was like a complete 180. Totally, I discovered this work rooted in values of personal transformation, spirituality, development, evolution, all of these beautiful things that I wasn't honoring then. And I'm the most confident I've ever been in my life, because it invigorates me when I'm in that space. And so I just wanted to share that example. If someone watching this is able to make those connections too, perhaps they're feeling that way now, and to encourage viewers to question themselves and everything that they're doing.
Yeah. It takes courage to ask these big questions, but that's where it starts.
Mm-hmm.
Who am I? What is my purpose? And not really asking the questions to get the answers. The answers will come, but it's the courage to ask those big questions, and that opens up the space for something new to come in, and for something new to emerge. But we need to actually open ourselves up, and that takes courage. And when the time's right, the time's right. Like for you, that's a beautiful example of that emerging and discovering what you may not have called it conscious confidence, but that's, and people say, how did you come to conscious confidence? I said, it came to me. I didn't make that up. It just, it emerged.
You were meant to be the channel for that, and that,
yeah.
and that's so beautiful, and that's, I just love it all. I love life on Earth, and if we were able to just tap into those higher realms of what actually does come through. But I want to ask you, what is possible for us individually and both collectively, or all collectively, if we are able to tap into that inner wisdom and work towards cultivating this conscious confidence, and why is this so important?
Well, the what is possible? Well, literally anything, because we are limitless consciousness. That is what we are and who we are in truth. So limitlessness and connecting with that limitlessness of consciousness, then we can give full expression in a beautiful and artful way to what we uniquely have to offer. And it's that beautiful variety and diversity that is founded in this underlying unifying principle of consciousness, so that all that diversity doesn't create division. And if it's given as an expression of who you really are, it doesn't matter how different you appear to be, it doesn't create division. That's one of the sort of, it blows the mind, because the mind can't understand that. But, and so that's what leads to a beautiful, rich and uplifting and satisfying life for us and for what we offer to people. I mean, I always said to the students I was teaching, you want to be a person that when you enter a situation, you leave it better than you left. You give energy and you uplift rather than take energy and pull it down. And to do that, you have to be self-aware all the time. And, you can be effective. You're of service. You can uplift and live a full life. And what a wonderful way to bring up children, so that's what they think is just normal, right? It shouldn't be seen as a special thing. This should be normal, because the wisdom traditions view us and state that this is who we are in truth. So we're just getting back to who we actually are. It's true. And our true nature in the wisdom traditions, they describe it as Satchitananda, consciousness, knowledge, and bliss. And that's in truth the elements of ourselves.
Well, I think that's so important that you did say that this wisdom should be imparted onto our children, and that's so dear to our hearts right now, considering we just had our first child 3 months ago.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you so much. And we're doing our part to be really a part of this conscious unfoldment of his growth and nurturing, really his true nature. And I really love that you mentioned that.
Well, it sounds like the potential for all of us to really drive our soul's mission is lying within that ability to tap into the conscious, confident aspect of ourself. And like you said, it's limitless. The potential is, we can't possibly fathom what is possible for humanity if all of us were able to show up for our soul's mission and continue to evolve in that way. So I'm getting really excited talking to you about this, because these aren't the words that most people hear in the personal development realm when people do talk about confidence. It's all about how to be better at what you're doing and challenge yourself to grow skills and very tangible boots on the ground stuff. That's absolutely has its place in the world. But this is just so, it lights something up.
It's expansive, and it's building the new you. It's moving beyond the constructs of operating in this box of confidence. It's beyond that, and I'm just hearing this expansiveness, and that's really what it's all about, because that's what we are. We're expansive, and so I'm just as excited to share that excitement with her.
What, for some of our viewers, though, this might be kind of hard for them to conceptualize that it's something that is within them yearning to emerge. So what is something simple, perhaps, that our viewers could start to help that emergence process? I know you already talked about self-awareness is key, of course, and the core values, and you shared some of your method, but what's something they could apply today even?
Maybe one thing.
One thing. I'll give
No
you two.
pressure.
I'm giving you two.
Oh,
Give
they go.
two.
They
perfect.
go. They go together. Um, this may seem like nothing, but this is profound. Take a few moments each day to actually just stop. And I mean stop. You can be standing, sitting, doesn't matter. Just stop and be still and just let the mind calm and come to some sort of quiet. Take a few deep breaths and come back to where you are. Feel your feet on the ground. Come back to where you are right now with your own presence, your own awareness. Just who you are, regardless of everything. Just let everything fall away. Feel it draining away. Seems like nothing, but that is coming back. We talk about connecting to ourselves. You are who you are right now. You don't have to go anywhere. You need to just actually be here. You don't have to do anything. So that's number one. And then just simply ask yourself some big questions, like in this moment now, who am I? Don't seek for an answer. Just ask the question in that space. And another one is, in this moment now, what is my next best step?
Hmm.
And it could be put the laundry on, or it could be play with the children. You know, it needn't be write War and Peace. But in that presence, when you play with the children or when you put the laundry on, for example, you're going to bring the best of yourself to that. And that the confidence of being yourself to that activity. And if you can do it with putting the laundry on or playing with your children, with presence, and that doesn't mean you're boring when you play with your children. You're fun and you're laughing and you're natural. That you're bringing the best of your energy in that moment to what you're doing. And just think of what you could do at any level. If you can harness that power. And that's the focusing, uniting, simplifying, energizing. So it comes back to simple presence, simple awareness. It is profound, but gets overlooked.
And I love that question. What are the next steps? And
What
it's
is
that,
the
what,
next
The
step?
next.
what is the next,
What
yeah.
is the next step?
And that
Yeah.
is, well, one strikes me because sometimes I'll get in my futuristic mindset of what are the next 10 or 15 best
Yeah.
steps?
Or what you think needs to be
Or what
done.
needs to be done
Needs to be done.
rather than what my soul is yearning for in that moment to see and to
Yeah.
move with the unfoldment of that. And I will take that on.
One, to tune into that present moment, to offer up the best energy that you can in that moment. It's like you said, even in our day-to-day tasks, that prepares us for larger things, but really they can't be compared anyway, because washing the dishes is just as much valuable and important as playing the harp in an orchestra in front of 5,000 people. And someone might
Exactly.
laugh when they hear that, but it's each moment is all we have. So, and that's something that I think I needed to hear. I try to practice mindfulness as I'm on my breastfeeding journey with my 3-month-old, and it's around the clock all day. And I do a lot of mindfulness, tuning in with him during these moments, but sometimes I divide my attention and I divide myself, and then I notice maybe he's not getting the best feed, or the latch isn't as well as the one before, and I realize in that moment it's because I'm divided. I'm not offering, now hearing the way that you worded it, I may not be offering my best energy in that moment. And why would
Yes.
I want to rob that from myself of
Yes.
that moment when I can't get that moment back? And it
Yes.
can be challenging for us. So I wanted to share that bit of challenge that I'm facing now, because we all have something that we could be more present with. And we all have something we can tune into a little bit deeper, offer a little bit more of ourselves. And so thank you for that reminder.
Thank you.
So do you have any other questions before we ask her to share?
No, just really, again, just thank you so much for sharing everything with us and the viewers, and we know that your book is coming out. So, what updates do you have regarding your work? And by the time this is released, the book will be out. So, um, definitely go and get that. But what updates would you like to share regarding your work?
Well, the book, yes, look, I even got one. Ooh,
Ooh,
it's real. I've got
That's
it in my
awesome.
hands. I know. I've narrated the audiobook version, so that'll be coming out, which is good because the Sanskrit, to hear the Sanskrit really helps because Sanskrit does have a vibration and a purity, um, and that's very helpful. Next year, I'll be developing an online course because I think, in terms of applying and making this practical, the an online course is very important. So I'll be working on that, and I also have some beautiful wristbands that have got Sanskrit Prema love on them, which I'm very excited about because we need to stay in memory, support our memory, strengthen our memory, because that is probably one of the biggest challenges overarching is we just forget, and think we do to support memory is important. So that's the basis upon which I thought about the wristbands. So they're coming too. And I'm
one
coaching, of course.
wonderful. Well, again, thank you so much for everything that you brought to our viewers as well as us. And we're just so excited for all of your work, and we hope you have a blessed evening.